Okay, so today we will start the Prime Minister chapter. Okay, the Prime Minister chapter. We will start the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. This is second video of this channel. So let us see the main things which we have to study in this chapter. I have already highlighted. We have to study about the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, their appointment. We have to study the formation of Council of Ministers, then tenure, function, policy making, administrative, legislative, financial, emergency. Then position and powers of the Prime Ministers. We will study collective and individual responsibility to the members of the cabinet, and then distinction between the Council of Ministers and cabinet. This one is very important. Just keep in mind, this is very important. You should have to learn it. Okay, very important. Sorry. So without any delay, we will start. First of all, we have to study about the appointment of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Okay, so without any delay, let's start. Regarding the appointment of the Prime Minister is directly appointed by the President of India. Okay, the President of India appoints the Prime Minister. Just a general question. Our current Prime Minister is Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Okay, here I have shown the picture. Don't get confused. Appointment is done by the President. The president cannot act arbitrarily in the appointment. President invites the leader of the majority party or the group in the Lok Sabha to form the government. Okay. The Prime Minister is therefore appointed by the President. Appointment of the Cabinet Mission. They are important members of the Council of Ministers. A Cabinet Minister have the right to attend the policies. Okay. The presidents appoint prime minister when no single party secure an absolute majority in the council of ministers. Okay. Cabinet appointment of the cabinet we have to study now. The prime minister selects his trustworthy colleagues and advises the president to appoint them as cabinet ministers. Okay, so president basically appoints the cabinet, but the advice is given by the prime ministers. Okay, now appointment I have told you. Now on the what mean we have to study now. Appointment I have told. Formation of council of ministers. Okay, then tenure I will show, and functions. Okay, tenure we can say now the tenure is as much as they enjoy the majority in Lok Sabha. Okay, till their wish when they are in Lok Sabha. It depends upon the majority. Okay, majority wants to stay or not. Okay, it depends upon the majority. Don't get confused. Okay, then the functions of the cabinet. Administrative functions are policy making, then implementation of policy, coordination of various ministers, and then appointments of the president are decided. Appointment. All major appointments who made by the president are done by the are decided upon by the cabinet. Okay. Then legislative powers. Okay. Introduction of bills, source of information, summoning the House of the Parliament. These are the legislative powers of the cabinet. Okay. Please keep in mind when was the cabinet established. It was established in 1946. Just keep in mind. Okay. This is very important. When was cabinet established? 1946. Okay. Then administrative legislative I discussed. Now the financial powers, budget, and then finance to the government, and then introduction of money bills. Okay, finance, introduction of money bill, and then finance of the government. Okay, now emergency powers. In emergency power, the president cannot declare a proclamation of General Emergency Act of the Constitution without receiving in writing the decision of the cabinet. If the cabinet tells the president to declare emergency, then only the president can declare the emergency. Okay, cabinet. Now, very important point. You have to just remember the difference distinction between the cabinet. Fun- Position powers of the Prime Minister I will discuss legislative, financial, emergency. Okay. First of all, we will discuss the position powers and then collective and individual. Okay. Wait, I will first discuss the difference only the cabinet and the council of ministers. The cabinet. Cabinet are the most trusted colleagues of the prime minister. The prime minister always constitutes them. The decision of the cabinet are binding on all the ministers. Okay. Then Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister may or may not consult the other minister below the rank of the cabinet ministers. Okay, this was one difference. The cabinet, the cabinet is a small cohesive group of senior ministers who determine the policies and the programs of the government to meet as frequently as possible. Okay, in day-to-day working, the Council of Ministers will rarely meet. This is important to keep in mind. They rarely meets. Okay, please keep in mind in between cabinet. Okay, and then in day-to-day governments of the country, the cabinet advises the prime minister through the cabinet advises the president to the prime minister. Don't get confused. Day-to-day governance of the country, the cabinet advises the president through the prime minister. Okay, main role is done by cabinet only. Okay, distinction you have to keep in mind the cabinet and the council of ministers. Okay, uh, according to constitution the president acts on the advice of the council of ministers. Okay, in reality it is not council of ministers but the cabinet who advises the president. Okay, then positions and powers of the prime ministers. Okay, we will study now the powers of the prime ministers. Okay, the powers of the prime minister, all the ministers are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. Okay, the prime minister influences cabinet decision. It is very important. The prime minister influences the cabinet decision. Okay, as chairman president cabinet, he or she coordinates the policies of various departments and minister. He or she coordinates the various policies of various departments. Okay, three function only important because 3 marks question will be asked, not more than 3 marks question can be asked. The number of marks, the number of point you have to mention. If 3 marks, mention 3 point, then you will get 4 marks. Okay, now individual and collective responsibility. Okay, of council of ministers. Okay, not it is cabinet. Okay, it is of council of ministers. The council of ministers collective responsibility to the parliament and has to resign if they loses the parliament in the Lok Sabha. The ministers are individually responsible to the president. They hold the office during the pleasure of the president and may be dismissed by him or her on the advice of the prime minister even when they have the confidence of the legislature. Okay, this was individual and collective responsibilities. Okay, uh, all things are done. Let's go once again. This is the syllabus. You can match appointment I have told, formation done, ministers done, tenure done, function done, policy making, administrative, legislative power. Okay, all are done. And position powers of prime minister I discussed. Collective and individual responsibilities I have discussed. Responsibility of members of the cabinet I have discussed, and distinction between council of ministers and cabinet. Please keep in mind, dear, this is very important. The council, distinction between the council of ministers and the cabinet. Okay, I will, please keep in mind, this is very important distinction between council of ministers and cabinet. Okay, last point, this is very important. Prime Minister have discussed the function of the cabinet, distinction, individual, collective responsibility. Okay, now rather than the topic, in our channel we have already published the president video, the prime minister video will be published. Now only I think how many chapters are left for your civics part. First is Union Parliament is left. I will discuss. Then Supreme Court is not over. Supreme Court video I have not published, but I will publish soon. Then Supreme Court, then High Court, Supreme Court and High Court will be discussed, and the Union Parliament. Okay, three videos are discussed. So this video was till here only. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you so much.